Crystal with Pineapple Papers, and I am back with Stretch the Sketch. So you can see up in the left-hand corner, that is our sketch, and it is from Sketchabilities, and it is made by Karen Gerber. And so super fun, and immediately when I looked at this sketch, it just looked like a traveler's notebook page. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I know it's a little hard to tell, but in the sketch, in the background, is what looks like a bunch of text. So I am working in my traveler's notebook that is my prayer traveler's notebook. And I decided to pull out all of my Citrus Twist stamps from the Grace boxes that I was subscribed to for a while. Unfortunately, they're not making them anymore, which makes me a little sad because they're perfect for Bible journaling or I don't know, they're just really cool. They have all kinds of stuff. But this particular one, I wanted to use all of the phrases. So I'm literally pulling all of the phrases off of all of these different stamp sets and putting on this giant acrylic block. Now I'm putting them on, not thinking that, okay, this is what I want it to look like. So then when I flip it over, it's backwards. So I decided to just mimic on both sides. So here I am, I'm going to ink it up, and I'm not really worried about if I'm getting a crisp image, so I don't put anything under my notebook or anything like that. I just ink it up, and here's where I go to flip it over, and I'm like, okay, so I guess I have to put it on the other side, which is fine. So that's kind of how it turns out, and then I decide, okay, I'm going to kind of mimic it to the other side. So now I have to scoot everything over. Now, there's really no rhyme or reason to any of the order that these phrases are in. The only thing that I wanted is that always on your side piece to kind of be on the outside, kind of in the middle. I would recommend that if you do this, make sure all of your word phrases are right side up, because somehow I ended up one that was upside down. But it's okay. It's kind of like making your own background paper versus actually somebody is going to sit there and read all of those stamps. Or at least I don't feel like very many people are going to read all of those stamps. So now that I have that done, I did see that that word enough, like the middle of it, was missing. So I just took the stamp and kind of stamped over it. So here I'm going to add all of those splatters that are in the sketch. So I have two Heidi Swapp Color Shine. First I did black, and then I started with navy and realized that the navy doesn't really show up. It looks pretty black. So I'm going to go with the white because my background paper is like a grid. So it has some blue in it as well. So this is a Tattered Angels, and it is in Midnight. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, it still looks like dark. Like I could not find a blue mist to make me happy for nothing. So finally I pulled out the ocean, and that was definitely what it needed. It was crazy. I was like, all these blues, they're just so dark. And, probably if I had waited for them to dry, you can kind of see the difference. So I'm just going to try and zoom in because this is a little bit smaller of an area than I normally work in. And then I will move the sketch over to the other side so you can still continue to see it. So this is a picture of my grandpa, and it was taken a couple years ago. The picture itself is not important. It's just the fact that it is my grandpa, because that was who I was focusing on praying for at this particular time. He was in a terrible accident, and so he was actually driving home from Arizona back to Colorado. And so I was the closest one when the accident happened. So I spent several nights in the hospital with him at his side. And so he's doing great. He's back at home. And we're just trying to get him back up and functioning on his own. And that's kind of what I talk about. So that is what's going on as far as the picture is concerned. So now I am focusing on kind of that lower cluster where the picture goes, and it doesn't look like there's any layers behind the photo, but yeah, I have to add some paper. There's no paper on this, and so I am trialing several scraps. I did have this scrap piece of paper that had some arrows on it, and so I am going to add that to where the arrows are. And then down the center it has something, and I had this leftover piece of paper from, it's a Maggie Holmes, and I want to I'm not sure which one it is. It's the ones with the balloons on the other side. So I'm just going to run that down the center, and then I am going to add my photo, and then I am going to look at some embellishing. There are some what appear to be stitch lines, and I really couldn't stitch. If I had done this on, a different piece of paper and then added it in, I would have totally taken it to my sewing machine and stitched it. But since I was doing it directly in the notebook, I decided just to do some faux stitching with my pen and just do a bunch of little dashes. So it doesn't really look like stitching, but it kind of gives that same effect. So I do feel like it is a little plain. And so I am going to go through my scraps and realize I think I'm just going to do some florals. So these are the florals from the Whimsical collection. And I just pulled out the blues and greens. And I am going to do 2 clusters just like in the sketch. And I did cut that one in half and realized that I needed to cut it more on an angle because I wanted it to kind of go across the page, but you can see that doesn't really work. So I have to have it coming off the top. So I will use the other piece on the right hand side, and I do like how that looks. And that is pretty much how the page turns out. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and make sure that you head over to all of the other amazing YouTubers that are stretching this sketch or shrinking this sketch like I did. So everybody has a super unique take, and none of them are 12 by 12, which can sometimes be challenging. So this is just my title. These are the pink paisley. I think they were from Pick Me Up, and they're in navy. And my title is just going to be healing because that's what I am praying for. So if you use this sketch, I would love to see your take on it. Even if it's 12 by 12, or especially if it's 12 by 12, just tag me. You are more than welcome to tag me on Facebook or tag me on Instagram. I would just love, love, love to see what your take was on this. And make sure you check out everybody else. And remember to wear your crown, and we'll see you next time. Bye.